Welcome back, guys, to another TikTok from Standard Time. Today we will be discussing the new release from Sinn, the U50.
So essentially the U50 is based on Sinn's pre-existing piece, the U1, which is one of the strong contenders in the diving
The whole gimmick
section,
of the U1 is that it is made out of real German submarine steel.
So that's something cool to know about, but we don't really know how much importance there is to that. But the idea is that it's a lot stronger steel, and that's why it's used for submarines.
Yes.
And so it's much better suited to a dive watch. And these are the kind of small things that Sinn seems to take care of as a brand. They just go so much more in depth into and so much more technical into whatever they choose to do. And that's what makes them so different and unique to the others.
Exactly. So what I feel what makes Sinn brand great is that they over-engineer everything.
Yeah, everything is like so specific, and even when they give us details on their website or on their Instagram, it's down to the millimeter, and not just the millimeter, but the hundredth of a millimeter. For example, like for the U50, I think on one of the Instagram posts that they had given the thickness, which was stated as 11.15 millimeters thick.
Yes.
Now, no one does that.
Not on Instagram, but that's what makes, in my opinion, Sinn special. Now, let's talk about the release, the U50.
So the U50 is essentially a smaller U1.
Yes.
And it has mostly the same specs, except for the diving depth rating, which is halved. But it's a 41 millimeter case, and the U1 is a 44.
It's a 44, yes, exactly.
It's huge.
The U1 has 1,000 meters water resistance.
Yeah.
And the U50 has 500.
Yeah, so it's 50 atmosphere U. U stands for U-boat steel, which is U-boat from German translates to submarine. So what's special about this piece is that now that you have the 41 millimeter case size, it's so much more accessible to everyone.
Exactly.
Because it's such an iconic piece, the U1. It's essentially putting the U1 down into people's hands that really wanted it but didn't have the wrist for it.
Exactly.
What do you think about that? Because it's the same piece.
It's essentially the same piece, but it opens up the brand for non-divers. Because a 44, you would only use it for.
You mean like not like specific?
It's more mass market. So like a 44 millimeter, you would either only use it for diving, or if you have the wrists for a 44 millimeter watch. It's very difficult.
So
to
you're
wear
saying the U1 is a bit too technical for the average person, you know?
Yes. So the U1 is specifically tailored for a diver or for a modern diver. The U50 is tailored for a modern...
wider genre.
Yeah, for a modern
people that appreciate diver watches.
Exactly. People who appreciate diver watches. And this is what a diver is in the 21st century.
Yeah, very true. So it's no longer just, the 300 meter water resistant on the case and maybe some helium release valve.
Yes. No, exactly.
Which is typical for most brands.
Yes, and that was the 20th century. The Submariner and the Seamaster. That was 20th century technology. What the 21st century has brought us is Sinn with their UX line.
Yeah, it's sort of reinvented.
And Doxa with their
line of
diver watches.
So let's run through the tech specs of this watch. It's very similar to the U1. So you can have the entire case made of this tegument steel. So essentially tegument is they've stated it to be a technology of hardening steel further than what the general submarine steel already is.
If you guys go to the Sinn website, you are able to customize your Sinn watch.
Yeah.
So you can choose the strap, whether it's leather, silicone, or steel. Yeah. And you can also choose whether you want this hardening technology on your watch.
Yeah, because I think the bezel already comes with the technology, and if you want the entire case to be that technical and that specific to your requirements, you could have it in the tegument steel that they offer for a surcharge of $250 or so. I think that's such a specific thing that only someone that really had a purpose use for that watch would go ahead and do. And so I think Sinn's customer base is far different to the average watch enthusiast.
Yes.
It goes beyond just appreciation for the design of the watch, but it's very utilitarian also at the same time.
And it's appreciation about the engineering that is behind the piece. If you go into the Sinn website, you will be able to see all the engineering specifications of it. You were telling me that they have technology to do with the magnetic.
Yeah, so I mean,
resistance.
Sinn has certain pieces that focus particularly on magnetic resistance, but they have the common standards. So in Germany it's DIN, which is Deutsche Industrie Norm, and that has an equivalent as
to the ISO.
To the ISO, yes. So they're just interchangeable numbers. So the standard use of this watch, it's not particularly made for magnetic resistance. Yeah,
but it has a standard.
Yeah, which I think they use across, which is the base standard they use across all their watches, which is 60 Gauss or 4,800 amperes per meter. I mean the strength of the magnetic field.
Yes.
And
yes,
that's,
but all this information can be found from the Sinn website.
That's what I was about to say.
It's impressive because, yes, Omega has amazing technology when it comes to magnetic resistance. But they don't advertise it. It's just hitting from the consumer.
Like certain watches, they do say that, like the new in-house calibers, they do advertise them having 15,000 Gauss, and mil Gauss has it in its name, for example, from Rolex. But the thing is that on their website, Sinn mentions all these smaller details, and they find that these details are quite crucially important to their customer base and their buyers, and that's very unique, and I think that's very special to this brand.
Yeah.
So going further with the specs, Sinn seems to have some of the best AR coating on their crystals ever. There's hardly ever any reflections in any picture that you see of them online. If you've noticed, it's far superior to that of most other brands that you see on Instagram or any of the watches photographed. It has a screw down case back. Of course, it's not see through. It's a utilitarian.
It's a utilitarian movement.
Diver. You wouldn't really expect that. And of course it would have a screw down crown, and they've particularly stated why they placed the crown at the 4 o'clock position and not 3 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah, could you think why?
Probably. Could you bump stuff with what's
not
moving?
Bump stuff, but it's so that it doesn't dig into your wrist.
Oh,
well,
I see.
not your wrist, but the back of your hand.
Yeah, the back of your hand, because if you're...
Yeah, because I wear my watches on the right hand, which is not typical. But so if you wear watches on the left hand, like he does, then
it's going to be on the left side.
If you sort of bend your wrist back, the crown sort of digs into
my
hand. Yeah, so when you have it at the 4 o'clock position, that's kind of an angle of free access, so it's not supposed to dig into your wrist. And maybe since it's a diver, and if you wear it over a dive suit, it's a lot tighter.
Yes.
So I think that it might matter more.
Wow.
But what's nicer than having this on the watch is to have reason displayed
the reason for it,
like their intentions behind each sort of small move they make in designing their pieces. I think it's curated so well, and
it's tailored specifically for this
and I'm glad that they do express these things.
Yeah, because there's thought behind every single decision they make. Yeah.
So as I said earlier, U50, 50 bar, so 500 meters water resistance. Are you gonna dive 500 meters?
I would never dive 500 meters.
So I think that's why they reduced it from the U1, which is probably 1 means 1,000 meters. We're guessing, but now it's half that. I don't think that changes anything.
Well, the only thing that changes is, I guess, the size of the watch, which is now more wearable, as we were discussing.
Yeah, but to the buyer, bragging rights are there, of course.
Yeah, the bragging rights is okay, my watch can go
1,000 meters. Yeah.
outside of.
But I don't think anyone who buys the U1 for diving, I mean, you can't physically free dive below certain limits, but even then, there's no real purpose to have
having a 1 kilometer.
Yeah. So I think that was nicely done on their part because it's nice to simply want specs, but the thing is, these certifications are limited by the mechanics behind the design.
Yes, exactly.
And when you have a smaller case, you do have to make some sacrifices. But luckily, I mean, they do recognize that this smaller case size is more important than the extra 500 meters.
Yes, and that's the other thing. They also have the U1 available. So if you do actually care about the bragging rights for the 1 kilometer
and if
water
you can,
resistance,
wear it on your wrist,
and you can wear it on your wrist. And that's the thing, like it opens up the market for enthusiasts like me who would be willing to try a 41 millimeter watch out. Because 44 is definitely too big.
I mean, because it doesn't have any complication that makes it seem even bigger.
That makes it seem even bigger. Exactly.
Yeah, and so let's go over the movement for a bit. So Sinn typically uses Sellita-based movements. Great Swiss-made movements. There
is a debate going around on the internet or like what is better, Sellita or ETA.
They seem to be almost identical.
Yes, Sellita is just like a base of the ETA plus a bit like one extra ruby and like nobody knows, or at least like the 2024.
There's not that much.
There is not variation. That much difference.
So this is the SW300, so which is I think the 2893 ETA. I mean they're all very similar, 2824, 2893. There's not too much difference, but you know it's a workhorse movement, and they know that too, and that's why they've included it in this watch. And as Sinn does, I'm sure it's extremely regulated and probably within cost spec, even though they might not.
Yeah, really even if they don't market it that way, they
I mean, that's what most people have said to have their Sinns running at.
Yeah, that, and they always think about the user in the end, because it's easy to service, it's gonna run for a while, and any watchmaker can service these as well.
It's very utilitarian, just like the design behind the watch. I mean, the syringe hands that are thick and very legible, and the simple dial, the layout, I think all of it ties in together really well.
Tell us, guys, your opinion of the new U50. What do you think? Do you think it's a good watch?
Would you get it? I mean, there's so many diving watches and divers on the market. There's the Submariner for so much more. But if you're in the market for a dive watch, is this something you're looking at?
Yes, exactly.
I really think it should be on your list of dive watches to look at.
As I was discussing, I think this is the 20th century interpretation of what a dive watch is.
Yeah.
This alongside with what Doxa makes, which is also great. Yeah. Tell us your guys' opinion, and we'll see you next time.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We have the same handle, Standard Time Insta. See you guys.